Good morning. Happy Sunday. Welcome to the 5th in our series of Sacred Sunday Sadhana. And I just want to reiterate what makes a practice so sacred is, for me, bringing me back. Anything sacred just brings me back to source. And it's like a reset button. So if you use a sacred sound like a mantra, it resets. It's like a reset for your whole system. And when you have a sacred practice, it's something that you don't do every day. You don't, or maybe you do. That could certainly be a sacred practice. But for me, using a specific day of the week, Sunday, I've chosen to kind of like just realign and reset and press the button and come back to what's real and allow myself to be in this space of wu wei. That's what the sacred Sunday sadhanas are all about. And let's talk more about wu wei in just a moment. I wanted to begin outside because it's beautiful. It's like 69 degrees in August. Wow. It's gloomy, it's gray, the ground is wet, I'm barefoot on the ground, but I just think that it's really important for us to be outside. It's very, very cozy in my house right now, and we will go back in there together in a moment, but I just wanted to start here with feet on the ground. So if you can get somewhere, you can get outside and take off your socks and shoes or sandals or flippy flops or high heels and just put your feet on the ground. The ground is rather spongy where I am right now. The earth has been holding water. So find yourself standing, whether you're outside, feet in the dirt, or maybe you're inside, looking outside. Get some semblance of nature around you, beneath you, above you, beside you, behind you. And just breathe. Breathe with ease. Breathe with whatever breathing looks like for you right now. Doesn't need to be a certain way. Wu Wei is the Taoist principle of going with the flow, of being non-judgmental, of being open to change, of being non-attached. It's all of that, and it's more than that. Wu Wei is the state that you enter sometimes during meditation, but there are other times when you're caught up in laughter, or when you watch a child do something that's just really simple and pure, and there's so much being and learning to be human. And if you've had those moments of watching a young child, you know the moments I'm speaking of. But that's not the only time you can access it. We can access this wu wei on purpose. We can deliberately put our feet in the ground. Open ourselves. Literally, use your soma to open your chest. Spread your collarbones wide. Pull your shoulder blades together. Open your heart. And just open to the sounds, to the smells, to the sights, to the quality of light, to the feeling. How's the air on your skin? How is that squishy ground under your feet? Maybe the ground is very solid and dry where you are. How is it? Wu Wei is a place of being in the unprogramming. So it's kind of what I feel like I've been talking about for 5 weeks. And I don't mean to keep harping. I think I just keep uncovering new levels for myself, and I want to share them with you. The Wu Wei is that concept of letting go of old programs and seeing each moment as new, seeing each day as new, and not letting the same story just keep rewiring, just keep working you through the same day over and over again, because every day is not the same. Every day has nuances, sometimes subtle, sometimes there are big differences between a day. And between yourself and a day. I don't know what it must be like to be a man, but I'll tell you, I love being a woman and having this built-in cycle of very easy to see differences. You know, in your 28-day moon cycle, my moon cycle's 30 days, I have a different amount of energy available to me in different days, and I require a different amount of patience with myself depending on where I am. And it's like that with everything. We have to remember that every human we see is on their different cycle, not only their moon cycle, but different cycles of grief, different cycles of letting go, of learning, of growth, of loving, of living. There's a physical process that's happening. You know, the human brain completes development at the age of 25. So, people younger than 25 are still physically developing. And then once the brain is fully developed, that's when they say consciousness really begins to develop. So we're all in these stages of growth. We're all in a very different world. Every single day, every moment is new. So what better way to embrace it than with Wu Wei? W-U is the first word, and then W-E-I, Wu Wei. So I'm leaving the outside to come into the cozy light and the coziness of my home. Just gonna leave the door open. I wanted to read to you 2 different poems from the Tao Te Ching. And it's interesting because having this Sacred Sunday Sadhana allows me a time to just collect bits of wisdom that I really want to come back to all through the week. And 2 of the sources that I chose at different times in the week from completely different places happen to be from the Tao Te Ching. So that's interesting how that worked. And you can close your eyes and breathe while you listen. You can be however you want to be. Permission to do what you want to do, to be who you are, to be what you need. The heavy is the root of the light. The still is the master of unrest. Therefore, the sage, traveling all day, doesn't lose sight of her baggage. She remains unattached and calm. Why should the Lord of 10,000 act lightly in public? To be light is to lose one's root. To be restless is to lose one's control. There's a way that, for me, poetry or prose of any kind, if I read something that I disagree with, I get this kind of defense. We talked about shenpa. I have sort of a shenpa around hearing words that aren't true for me. And something we can do instead of having that defense pop up is just notice. I'm mentioning it now because there's a part that says to be light is to lose one's root. And I have just a nanosecond of defense around that. Because right in the beginning it says the heavy is the root of the light. So to me that means you can be grounded and still be free. Like a tree is rooted and then the branches and the leaves are light and moving in this way. So the first thing is to notice if anything that you hear from another human or from poetry or from any prose that you read, if it just doesn't feel right, that's okay. You can notice that and then just let that go. Embrace your Wu Wei, because words are so limiting and there's meaning that we can extract that wasn't intended. And I believe that we hear what we need to hear, we get what we need to get. And, if I take a second look, then I can see the sentence, to be light is to lose one's root. It wasn't intended to be a defensive measure. It's simply talking about remaining rooted in what's sacred, remaining true to yourself and to your experience, and to not lose one's baggage, to me, feels like just to remember who you are, where you came from, what you've been through. I remember, here I go, diverging again, and we'll come right back to the Wu Wei, and I'm going to embrace this as Wu Wei. I was fortunate enough to find love at a very young age. I fell in love with a man or boy when I was 14 and he was 16, and then we became man and woman together. And it was very loving and wonderful, and after 20 years it was time. It came to an end, and so that man is the father of my children, and I was in a rather challenging, tumultuous relationship where that man, my ex-lover, my ex-husband, said to me, I didn't go through the pain of breaking up and the change of not being together just so you could be unhappy with someone. And I was like, whoa, that's so true. I too did not go through the process of separating and leaving the safety of that relationship only to be unhappy. So that's really what this points to, and it can fit in so many different ways, but just the sage traveling all day does not lose sight of her baggage. She knows what she's carrying. She knows what she's made of. She knows what has allowed her to become the goddess that she is. And to be light is to lose one's root. Now I can read it and see that it just means keep what you've cultivated, even as you go out and experience the light and experience the waving of the upper limbs. You're still deeply rooted in truth and experience. So what a beautiful, beautiful poem. I specifically, the still is the master of unrest. Like, how many times have you felt like there's something you need to do, either about some information you learned or just like about this kind of predicament that we're in right now in the pandemic? And sometimes it's not that you need to do anything except be still, because stillness is the master of unrest. Just allow. So Wu Wei, let me say some more words about Wu Wei. And this week I invite you to kind of go through your days, your minutes, your week, and just keep checking in and notice, like, hey, I'm in my Wu Wei. Wu Wei is a state of mind, it's a state of being where you just find yourself allowing and accepting. And as we've said before, that doesn't mean being a doormat. It doesn't mean that we're permissive of abuse or mistreatment of ourselves or others. Wu Wei means, that there's that concept of not suffering even when things are uncomfortable. You accept, you lean in, and water is associated with Wu Wei. So Wu Wei is a Taoist idea, and Taoism, Chinese medicine specifically, is very rooted in nature and the 5 phases or elements. And so water is associated with Wu Wei, and also from the Tao Te Ching. Here we go, about Wu Wei. Flow around obstacles. Holding on to beliefs is not important. Can we become more like water? So that's pretty amazing. Like, imagine that you are a stream and there's a boulder, And water does not like forcefully try to get under the boulder like a spatula and like flick it out of the stream so it can keep going. And water doesn't stop because there's a boulder. What does water do? Water goes around the boulder. Water goes over the boulder. Water goes beside the boulder. And water just keeps on going. So it's kind of how, it's not how we have to be, but what a wonderful way if we can embrace our own wu wei when these boulders are put in our paths. How much more enjoyment and richness can we get out of our lives, and how much healthier can we be emotionally, mentally, physically, if we can allow ourselves to go around the obstacle instead of being completely stuck. Water is never stuck. Stagnant water is definitely not something I want to be. So let me take back that water is never stuck thing. Water can get stuck. If your water is stuck, can you dig a little canal and let your water start flowing again? Because that stagnation is not good either. We don't need to be forceful, and we don't need to be stagnant. There's a way that we can accept and allow and flow. So going with the flow. A few more words about wu wei. These are things that I wrote down yesterday from one of my professors. Wu wei is a new way of thinking. It's a new way of being. I love this part. Wu wei is not embedded in judgment. It's embedded in compassion, humility, and moderation. So think about using wu wei with yourself, just like we practice ahimsa with ourselves before we can really extend that feeling of non-harm and acceptance to others. The same is with wu wei. Can you go with the flow within your own psyche, within your own soma? Just go with the flow in your own experience. And then you can start to recognize the wu wei with others. So start here before you can ripple out. A ripple really can't reach anyone unless it has started, with itself. So let's start the ripple of wu wei, or continue the ripple of wu wei. And holding non-judgment for yourself is a way to start that. So just like everything else, that starts with the noticing. And this work is so simple, and it can be so hard because we're so used to looking like we're doing something. Like, look at me, I'm doing something. I'm learning this sport, or I'm learning this concept. But really, when we're working with the maturity and the growth of our inner being, it doesn't look like anything, or much anyway, to the outside world, but we're doing so much. And so see if you can find the intrinsic motivation without the external reward system, which there will be. It's a little further down the road. See if you can just work with yourself one little micro bit at a time, embracing the wu wei, noticing, letting go of judgment, coming from compassion and humility, moderation, little by little by little by little. And then you'll notice one day, lo and behold, the wu wei has grown, the ripples have spread. You're in your wu wei, and you're able to reach back to that wu wei whenever you lose it, because as you know, with growth, we take 5 steps forward, 4 steps back. And I love that Pema Chodron, the Buddhist nun, says, 10 steps forward, 10 steps back, 10 steps forward, 10 steps back. But the joy of the day, 10 steps forward, 9 steps back. Woo! I only took 9 steps back. So it's very natural for us to be in the state of constant growth and constant retraction, and not to get frustrated with that, because it's just the normal way of being a human. So let's try to embrace our wu wei and see if just little by 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 little we can begin to flow. be non-judgmental with ourselves. Be non-embedded in judgment. It's the way of the psyche. It's the way of protecting us. We've got the amygdala, which is like the bodyguard in the brain. And the amygdala is literally judging everything. Like, is this dangerous? Am I safe? Is this dangerous? Am I safe? And that's beautiful. Wow, like how awesome that we have this built-in system of survival. And we're not berating that. And we don't think the ego is bad. And we don't think the amygdala is bad. And everything doesn't have to be bad or good. But we do need to embrace the fact that we are beings having a human experience. So the tools for judgment are very human, and they keep our temple alive. They keep us having somewhere to live, The body is where we live right now. This is my home. I have to keep my home safe and clean and pure. But I am a being of light. You are a being of light. And the being doesn't need judgment. The being doesn't need to have that constant defining of each thing. It is the true self within us that can accept the wu-wei and go with the flow and be the flow. And then we use this beautiful body that we have. We use the eyes as windows, and we can see, and we can observe, and we can feel, and we can process. And one concept in Ayurveda that I love is that we're eating all the time. We're eating all the time. Food is not the only way that we consume. We're consuming when we see, we're consuming what we hear, we're consuming what we feel. And all of it has the propensity to nurture us. So the food that you eat, that you put in your mouth and chew up and swallow and later poop out, this is not the only way that we are nourished. We're nourished by all that we see, by all that we feel and hear. And so in that way, it's great to have that amygdala of judgment, of saying like, is this good for me? Do I need to be watching all this violence on HBO? Is this feeding me? Does this relationship with this person feel abusive? Is that feeding me? Does this sunset feed me? Those are great ways of using the judgment, but we also have to find, like everything, find the balance and come back to that place where we can be. So once you know that you're safe, you can just be, and be with your wu-wei, and be in that state of peace. And from the peace, happiness and bliss can occur. And I think that's really what we're after, is that state of peace. We talk about the pursuit of happiness, but I'd say really we're more in pursuit of peace. I'm not interested in being happy all the time. Happy is not an emotion that I need to have constantly, but peace is sort of that place. For me, that's the stillness that is the master of the unrest. The peace is just kind of it's the wu-wei. It's the waiting stage. It's the being. It's the noticing. It's the allowing. I'm embracing wu-wei. Alexa is talking. Alexa, stop, please. I'm coming into a seated position. I invite you to do the same. I'm going to prop the phone here. And will you do an Om with me? I love the sea of Oms, especially with this concept of wu-wei. Let's have a watery, wavy, just sea of Oms going this morning. The number 5 comes to mind, so we'll do Om 5 times. And remember, your Oms don't need to match mine. There doesn't need to be effort for you to breathe the way someone else breathes. We inhale, and as we exhale, we Om. And then again, inhale, exhale, Om. We'll do it 5 times. I'm going to have my eyes open today. I'm going to embrace the tree and the squirrel and anything else that might happen, but I'm going to do so from a state of the witness, the wisdom body, where I'm going with the flow. I'm not getting caught up in any story. I'm just marveling at the miracle that is life around me. So I invite you to do what feels right. Close your eyes, leave them open. Let's begin. After your 5 ohms, notice the absence of sound. Can you enter the Vijnanamaya Kosha and notice and witness? Can you find Wu Wei inside you? Remember that Om is a sacred sound. It's a cleansing sound. When you chant Om, it's like taking Palo Santo or sage and completely removing obstacles and stuck energy from your body. Om connects you to all that was, is, and will be. Pressing my fingertips together in Anjali Mudra. From your heart, set an intention that you can send into your hands, that you're holding like a little secret, like a bird in your hands. My intention is to cultivate Wu Wei and to come from a space of non-judgment of myself and others. I share that open with you if you'd like that to be your intention. And I respect and honor whatever intention you decide. But once you've got it, once you articulate it, if that's an important part of the process for you, send it right back to your heart. Let it be wordless, let it be a feeling. Let that feeling come from your heart into your hands. And as you breathe in, reach your fingertips toward the sky, toward the ceiling. Let your back take a slight arch. The chin comes up from the chest. Open your palms, release your intention, release the little bird inside your hands, flying into the universe. And now it is so. exhale as your arms come back down beside the body. I'm feeling great. Thank you for being here with me on Earth at this specific time. I'm glad that you chose to be here. I'm glad that I chose to be here. And I'm glad that our paths have crossed. May you be safe and healthy. May you live your life with ease, embracing the Wu Wei. May you notice all the magical moments of everyday life, like the way raindrops race each other down the window. May you hold space for yourself to be exactly as you are. Namaste.